Hey guys, Script here with another video, and you guys know me, I try not to take things too seriously. I try not to get too upset. I try to laugh at a lot of the dumb stuff that's been going on, and I also do kind of pride myself on kind of understanding the way the people involved with making Star Wars these days think. I'm not some crazy insider or anything like that. Yes, I do my best to get certain information when I can, but things like predicting force healing, for example, in the Acolyte. It's not because anybody told me that. It's just because that's what they're going to do. They're going to do stuff that makes you question the main story in these shows. They love doing that. I don't know why, but that's their thing. But one of the things I've been talking about for a long time is that ever since Andor, is this desire to be like Game of Thrones. I think the people involved with Star Wars are looking at Game of Thrones as sort of a model to what they want to do, which to me is a mistake. I think let Game of Thrones be Game of Thrones and you do your thing that's different from that, and you'll get a different and probably wider audience, maybe more kids, yada, yada, yada. And I would also make the argument that what we're seeing now is that kids are no longer as interested in Star Wars, probably partly because they're trying to turn it into an adult show. Now, I said all along, Andor is a cool show. It has its issues. I picked it apart in my reviews, but overall, it is a good show, but it's not Star Wars. It is a drama that you could slap any skin on. And yes, there's things I don't like. I don't like how Mon Mothma pimps her kid out. I don't like, there's details like that I could complain about. But overall, especially the prison storyline was really good. It just didn't feel like Star Wars as a show. There wasn't the fun. There wasn't the running around. There wasn't the banter. There wasn't the jokes. And I have been saying all along, these people have a really hard time writing Star Wars. For all the criticisms of Lucas and other people that were involved in his stories, they just really struggled with getting that Star Wars feel with these shows. They just don't have that same, I guess, pizzazz or riz, as the kids would say, or whatever. They just don't have that. I mean, has there been a single joke in The Acolyte yet in 5 episodes? 2.5 hours of footage? Has there been one funny line at all? Oh, when Yord has his shirt off and she tells him to put some clothes on? Is that the funny line? So they just don't really feel Star Warsy. And so, again, I've been saying they've been trying to be Game of Thrones. And so now the media is finally catching on. And this is Gaming Bible. Star Wars just broke a 19-year record with a surprise reveal. The Acolyte has certainly left a lasting impression on the Star Wars fandom, for good or ill. Its decision to tap into the brutality of Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, has broken a 19-year streak. Okay, it's a weird... Okay, whatever. Some fans feel it's too much. However, others are relishing the harsh approach this Disney series has taken. Spoilers are ahead, so turn back now if you aren't caught up with the latest episode. The big Sith reveal of the newly dubbed Darth Daddy. Are people calling him Darth Daddy? So you're calling the guy with what appears to be a BDSM fetish gimp mask Darth Daddy? So I guess you're the submissive and he's he's the daddy. That's weird. Has already faced backlash from the fandom, and that discontent looks set to continue. I honestly, I'm going to do a whole video about his character. I actually don't mind his character at all, quite frankly. He's kind of one of the redeeming things, other than the stupid mask, whatever. At this point, aesthetics is like so far down the line because the story's so terrible that I don't even really care about that. I just make fun of it. If you're wondering why, it comes down to how vastly different the Acolyte's approach to storytelling has a savagery about it. CBR describes it as Star Wars Red Wedding. Whatever, guys died. We saw this in Order 66. Like, seeing Jedi getting killed is not that exciting, you guys. Like, I know you're trying to turn this into like some big thing. It's whatever, they just got killed. And the scene, I did a video about the whole fight scene. I'll put it at the end or in the description, whatever. You guys can click on that and see. Like, there's so many problems with that fight scene. It's honestly hilariously bad. Much like in that famous Game of Thrones episode, key characters, ones you assumed were safe, were unforgivingly cut down. The only other time Star Wars has been this brutal is Revenge of the Sith. Now, this implies that we care, right? So, when Ned Stark is killed in Game of Thrones, it's super shocking, and it does come sort of out of nowhere. Not entirely, but sort of out of nowhere. But a big part of that is there's such a build-up. There's so much going on with his character. He's in so many scenes. He has so many lines. You're invested in him. Like when Yor dies in this... And also, Game of Thrones episodes are way longer. It's a way longer show, so they spend way more time in character development. Like, when Yor dies, you're like, okay, who cares? Like, this guy had, 10 lines of dialogue. He's kind of just hanging around. You don't get into his motivations really at all. You don't get into any depth with his character. So you're like, whatever. Like, all the people that died in this episode, you really aren't very invested in them, because they don't really do much up to that point. If Sol died, you could be like, okay, there's a little bit of shock there, maybe, because he's the guy that the showrunners invested a lot more time in with his character. But everybody else is just kind of there. And even he isn't really that deep either. But everybody else is just kind of there, and that's what makes the Sith dude actually kind of entertaining, is that he's the one guy that's, different, and you see some of his character come out and stuff like that. Despite the fact there shouldn't be any Sith. Maybe he's going to kill them all. Hopefully he does. And then we can all look back and say, well, whatever. It didn't break lore. But yeah, I don't think anyone's really all that concerned with Jecki dying. She have 10 lines of dialogue to this point. The Torben guy died and you're like, whatever, who cares? This guy said nothing the entire show and we don't even have any investment in him. Whoop-de-doo, he's dead. Should not have done the flashback that early, but anyways. Don't really care about who else died. Yeah, and then there's the random Jedis that you see for 2 seconds and die. The guy, the Plo Koon alien, what are they called again? Let me know in the comment section. I can't remember again. And the other 3 or 4 are just randos that you literally have no lines of dialogue. They're just there to be killed. So how is this a red wedding? How is this a big deal? It's nothing. Like guys in Game of Thrones dying. All of the characters, every single character in Game of Thrones that dies, you're invested in. There's a huge amount of character development leading up to that. So no one cares that 5 random Jedi died and Yor died and the Padawan. No, does anyone really care? Let me know in the comment section. Are you really invested in this? Did the show invest in those characters enough to make you care that they died? Because for me, I was just like, whatever, man. This is dumb. Who cares? Over half the Acolyte cast has departed from this moral plane by the time we reach the conclusion. The lighthearted, almost comical nature of the franchise was well and truly stripped away, similar to Andor. Everything we're witnessing feels more adult, more raw. And with that move ends the slightly playful era of Star Wars we've become accustomed to. What's been playful about the era we're in right now? What's been playful? Nothing. The closest thing we got to playful was Boba Fett acting like a clown on the speeder. Everything else has been way too serious, if anything. Star Wars is always there's funniness to Star Wars. There's nothing like that at all in any of these shows. What are you talking about? It's been 10 years of blah. I mean, The Rise of Skywalker, I guess I shouldn't say 10 years. The Rise of Skywalker, literally the one only thing that I liked about it was it did have some Star Wars-y humor in it. With 3PO and Poe and some of those dudes, and Finn and stuff. But other than that, it hasn't been playful at all. What are they talking about? It's been drab. That's why kids aren't into it anymore. Because it's been drab and blah and way too much drama-ness. It's not funny at all. It's not fun really at all. And kids don't like that. So they're burying their brand with this mentality that they need to be like Game of Thrones. But I told you this a long time ago that this is what they're trying to do and trying to be. Finally, people are picking up on it 3 years later. Personally, I'm not mad about this change of creative direction. It suits the story being told. Whether it would work for all Star Wars shows is another matter entirely, though. No matter what comes next, The Acolyte will linger long after its final episode airs. It is going to linger like a bad fart. That's what it's going to linger like. That's a real legacy to leave behind, especially in spite of all the ridiculous fanboy ire the show has previously faced. So you're saying that because it's going to be like Game of Thrones, or they're desperately trying to be like Game of Thrones, and that it's not fun anymore and isn't lighthearted anymore or playful anymore, that's good? No, they're burying their brand, you guys. They're not selling toys. They're not making money. This isn't smart. This is dumb. And again, let Game of Thrones be Game of Thrones. You do Star Wars, and I don't know why they would. I think they went down this road because, again, as stupid as George Lucas is to some of these people, you don't know how to write what he wrote. You can't write it. You can't write what those people wrote. His company and the people he hired. You can't. So you have to try and be like, oh, let's be like Game of Thrones because it's popular. It's the next most popular thing right now to us. And then you started doing that, and now you're burying the brand, and Game of Thrones is now becoming more popular than you. Way more popular. Way more viewership. Why they did this, it's the dumbest business decision. And again, it goes back to, why is Kennedy still there? Why is Iger still there? Why do they hire people that are incompetent at their jobs? Why does the board allow that? Is the message, quote, that important to where you're going to let these people bury your brand you spent $4 billion on? Like, look what they did to Indy. Are you going to allow this? It's just stupid. And I mean, no one cares that all those characters died. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comment section what you think. Do you think this is a smart business decision? Do you care that any of those characters died? Do you feel like this is anything like Game of Thrones? Is there any character development in comparison? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Let me know in the comment section. If you like this content, please like, subscribe. Always helps the channel. Feel free to check out anything else on my channel. And like I said, if you feel like clicking on the Acolyte fight breakdown, it's actually pretty funny. You might like it. So have yourselves a really good day.